Shwmai, croeso, hello and welcome to the Bluebirds Nest. Episode 71, and fittingly and almost coincidentally, I'm thrilled to be joined by one of the most iconic number 7s in Haverfordwest County's history. A familiar face across Pembrokeshire and Welsh sporting circles, being both a player and co-manager at the club, and is nowadays leading the charge at Goodwick United. Delighted to welcome none other than Mr. Christopher O'Sullivan. Pleasure to have you on, my friend.
Pleasure, obviously seen a lot of these over the past, and it's a long time coming, and you finally got me.
Thank you for agreeing to come on finally. You're well, everyone knows you will say you're a big personality on and off the pitch, but a man who these days I'd say very much likes to go under the spotlight, away from the spotlight, I should say, under the radar, just doing things, ticking over. So I really do appreciate you giving up your time for this chat. We've got seriously an incredible list of things to talk about, including your best 11, which I can't wait to hear about. You've played across many eras at the club, so some big decisions to come. We'll come back to that. But as we do, let's start at the very beginning of your illustrious career. You've never been one to do things by halves. That's something I quickly learned about you when we first met. So let's go chronologically. Obviously, at Swansea City for a large percentage of your football before Haverfordwest. But before that, grassroots, Phoenix Park, I'm assuming, where you first start kicking a ball before you got onto a few radars of a few scouts.
Yeah, that was many moons ago now. But Phoenix Park is literally a stone's throw from the parents' house. So as a kid, it was always grabbing a ball after school, running down there, and then the old man and mother coming to get me then before it's dark to get back home. As a junior and as a kid, it was Goodwick United was where it all kind of like kicked off down in Phoenix Park.
Fantastic. And then a big opportunity, I suppose. Scouts, tell us how that happened then. So Scouts came by, saw the obvious natural talent at a young age, and a big opportunity at a young age.
To be honest, how it actually come about, it was quite bizarre, because there was a coach years ago, Neil Summers, who took the under-14s and under-13s at the time. And Fishguard were probably the high flyers, along with like the Merlin's Bridges, Branstons and stuff like that. And all the best players were at these clubs. And I was always tempted as a kid to go and play with my school friends and everything like that. But the old man would never allow it. And I ended up playing for Goodwick as a kid. The coach at the time said, when you're in a good team with loads of kids and everything like that, you don't really stand out. So he said, stick it out. You're our captain. I was only 13 at the time. And he said, I've got a scout from Oxford United coming to watch you. Mr. Raymond Evans, that was. Great guy. Stayed in touch after my junior days and everything, and recent years through Haverfordwest and everything like that. Great guy. Always sent my mum and dad letters afterwards. So it was a game against Merlin's Bridge, actually, with close friends of mine, the likes of Nathan Thomas, Lee Hudgell, and all playing. And the scout picked me up during that game. And I didn't even know he was there watching that game. And then a phone call to the parents later on that evening then. And sent to Oxford United the week after.
Brilliant. Pack your bags and off you go.
And then
in lodge up there, I'm assuming.
A lot of mileage on the dad's car.
Yeah.
How it kind of worked was every summer holidays, Easters, and kind of school holidays, you were obviously housed up there then through those periods with other players from all over. But then every Sunday was a match day, so it was like Portsmouth, Southampton, Plymouth, Sheffield United, all those type of teams every Sunday. So it was a lot of traveling.
Great experience, though, as I said, at a young age. And many people who've come on here in the past have said, Scotch comes to mind. He was up at Ipswich, and the boys have done spells at Cardiff. But you ended up, again, it's still a trek from down west all the way up to Swansea. So you came back to the Vetch then after 2 years at Oxford. Who brought
Yeah,
you?
it came about because Malcolm Elias and Jeremy Charles, with the heads of recruitment and schoolboy football and everything with Oxford United, they kind of signed for Swansea City then as schoolboy and development, and then they brought me from Oxford then to kind of the Swans then. That was around 97, 98 then, when I first went to the Swans. And spent a few years then with them as a schoolboy, and then through to YT and first year pro then. So
I've looked back at that era, and you've got, like you said, YTS contract, 2-year contract there under John Hollins, I think it was. Before, you look at Swansea's history, it was tough times then through the troubles of the sort of Tony Petty era. You were eventually let go of and played for the first team and that. But I think in a different era, things could have been different. I think you've spoken in the past. I know that under John Hollins, you flourished under him. Is that right?
Yeah, he was a great manager and a great person, along with Alan Curtis, in regards to how they managed people and looked after people. They were superb, and I couldn't have asked for a better kind of like period when they were there. But like we just touched upon, right? Like Tony Petty, I think he bought the club for £1, and it just went absolutely downhill on and off the pitch. It was in massive struggles. I think on any one given day, I think there was 14 of us released on one day from pro contracts. But like you say, you touched on the YT and stuff like that, which was just a 2-year contract. Whereas if they don't see any developments by the time you're kind of 18, you're kind of done. Whereas to be fair to the football, like kind of pyramid and everything now, and as you develop as a teenager into then your like early 20s and everything, they got like under 23s and everything now. So it's a lot better structure for people to develop, because some people from the age of 17, 18 don't really get anywhere until they're 22, 23, and then they fly through. So yeah, football's definitely evolved, but the talent back there, looking back at when I was there and everything like that, there was boys like Craig Draper and people like that. There's another boy, Richard Jones, he went to Southampton. I think because they were pure footballers as well, and I think in this kind of generation, they could have made it all the way, and they were kind of similar ages to myself, Jamie Rubery and boys like that. Really good quality, talented boys.
Yeah, well, it's a rabbit hole we could go down about the Swans and that, but I want to come on to Haverfordwest because that was certainly to the advantage of the club at that point. Where you were released, you were a local guy, bringing in that it was not far off the start of 15 years as a player at the club after you left Swansea, and you've managed to dig out your first ever contract. I've loved looking at this from way back when, from 2002 when you first played.
My original how I got with Haverfordwest from the Swans was, I remember the conversation to this day. The Swans under 18s played Haverfordwest in a game down the meadow, and it was coming towards like me having a pro contract or not. And then Mickey Ellis pulled me in the bar and he was like, local boy now, if you don't get into the Swans on a pro contract, he was hoping I wasn't going to get one. And he was like, you can sign down here for us. Like, I was like, well, I haven't been home here, Mick, for a few years and stuff like that. But so he kind of dropped that in with me. And then obviously a year later, I'm getting released and everything from the Swans. And yeah, they're embraced, and Mickey and all were, yeah. I don't think they would have allowed me to go on trial after leaving the Swans. Anyway, it was a done deal. A start of a long period from, I think I was 2002 when I first signed there. And then, last kicking a ball for Haverfordwest in 2017, I think it was. Mr. Sean Cresser allowed me a few minutes, I think it was.
I remember it fondly, I do. I want to... Yeah. It was a challenging time, at the start of your time, out of the professional game, back in Cymru Leagues, or League of Wales as it was back then. It came as with a big challenge for you. As I said, you're not one to do by halves as well. A massive milestone that you look back on, a life-threatening accident where I've heard the story with you in the past. You were hit by a car, and so much so they found you about 30 meters away from the car. When you think about that. That's a phenomenal distance. It's absolutely unbelievable. think about it, you know. 3 pivotal days that it must have been torture for your mum and dad and your family, where you spent in a coma up in the Heath in Cardiff before, I suppose, they started realising the seriousness of the injuries. I think it's about 6 months you spent up in Cardiff at the Heath then, when I think doctors told you you might not ever walk again. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, what year was the accident then, sir?
So 2004. So yeah, so I gone to Aberystwyth for a season in between that, and then I was coming back to Haverfordwest, and then obviously I got run over by the car, and then obviously Haverfordwest were in Europe and everything then in that 2004 and stuff like that. So yeah, these things are sent to try you, and things happen. And yeah, with challenges, it's one of them ones, right? Whereas, okay, you got to accept it, and then you got choices how you want to go about it. But yeah, the car, I think they measured that when I kind of ran across the road, the car hit me doing about 62 mile an hour. So yeah, it broke the 3rd vertebrae down on the spine, dislocated shoulder, and then yeah, a cage attached to my knees and everything then as well. So yeah, about 6 months, and then I had a halo frame implant then on the head, to help mend the bone back together on the vertebrae and the spine. But yeah, the first few days after coming off the support and everything like that, they kind of said that doubtful that I would walk again and never play sport ever again. No, so they were times where it's a case of, what am I going to do again now for the rest of my life?
Yeah. I'll be honest, there's not too many people I know who are coming back from that. You know, I've known you over a decade, and I've obviously heard the story, but when I think about it, the physical but mental strength to overcome that and to come back and achieve what you have. Obviously, not only, like you said, about 15 years playing at the top level, but you also went on to become Welsh champion as a boxer as well. Unreal. We'll come on to that. But
yeah,
well, Welsh championship, I think you won the title in 2006.
Yeah.
And then we're on track to defend your title a year later. I'm picking out all your injuries here. Another bad injury luck then with your shoulder popping out.
Yeah.
You were facing a man who obviously went on to become a world champion himself, a certain Lee Selby. But people was, you know, and it's easy to go down a pathway about what ifs and things like that. So, you know, it's a challenging era for you, that.
Yeah, certainly. It was one of those ones where I was going from being told to never play sport again, and then I think I was back in playing for Haverfordwest County then, the end of 2000, like into 2006, 2005, 2006. And then, I won the Welsh ABA title. I think it was just over 24 months after leaving Cardiff Heath Hospital. So then I become Welsh number 1, and then I retained that then for the full year to then fight and defend it the following year. And come up against Mr. Lee Selby, and he was up and coming. He was hungry at the time, and it was a good. I was current number 1, he was number 2, and it was all going to plan. First round, second round, until dislocated my shoulder halfway through the second round then, and then lo and behold, he went on then to become the Welsh champion, and obviously because I couldn't carry on, and then he's won the next round. And then I think it was literally he had one more fight, turned professional, and then went on to be multiple world champion. So,
I seem to have a memory of us playing Barrytown away one day, and he was there watching. I'm sure I remember seeing you two having a chat. Is that right?
Yeah, no, and to be fair, I had a couple of charity events, stuff like that. So he sent down signed boxing gloves and everything like that. So these doors either open or close, and it's one of them ones. Whereas I'm not one for ifs and buts in life, and I don't think he's gone on to do and achieve everything in the game, and unfortunately, it's one of those ones where I didn't. So it's pretty much clear cut when it comes to you either have done it or you haven't, so to speak.
We've picked up some perhaps the challenge. Let's get back to the positives, and there's lots of them, and you're having a lot of compliments from me on you. But when I first came to the club, I'll be honest, you not only were you great, welcoming me in as a member of staff today, but I've thought long and hard about this, and I think the word I would use to describe you on and off the pitch is standards. And I mean, I'm sure people who've shared a dressing room with you will say the same thing. It's everything you do and still do, to be fair. And we'll come on to the current life now. It's always been a thing that you always do the very best of what you can do. From, being punctual. You were punctual on the recording tonight. You're prepared. You're doing the business on the pitch. Where's it come from?
Yeah, I think it's one of these ones where, with my brother as well, we've always applied each other. Like back more so when it comes with my brother, is more me and him the boxing side, whereas he's just played local, to be fair, and had a good career at Goodwick. But we were always the ones that we felt like when we were in the Welsh boxing squads and stuff like that, and boxing, we were always the ones that would have to do that a little bit more, because the city life, you get better coaches, better facilities and everything like that. So, and there's more people around you.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those ones, whereas like, as long as you graft, as long as you do everything that you possibly can right, then the outcome, you've got to be comfortable with that, because you'll have no regrets. So even from a young age, even when my dad used to take me to football and everything like that, we'd have to be on time. I say to youngsters now these days, like, they're like, if the ability and talent's always kind of on a similar level, what can you do better to then get the kind of attention of the managers and coaches? So like you look and listen, you pay attention, you turn up on time, you wear the right stuff. I've just always kind of done it, and little things I just think build the bigger picture, whereas it'll give you a better opportunity to be successful or whatever you want to do. And those kind of things, it doesn't cost anything. So for me, if you're applying yourself in that kind of manner, you're just giving yourself a better chance, because you want the best outcome, because what you're doing it for. So yeah, from a young age, right. And then obviously when you come, when you say about the Haverfordwest kind of scenarios and stuff like that, like standards, like I would always turn up to pre-season, and I'd work the hardest, I'd be the fittest, and I'd make sure that I was at the front, or you turned up on time, and stuff like that. It's just those little things that's probably, there's been loads way better players than me, loads, and more talented, and I've achieved way more. But I'd kind of say that probably I lasted that long down with Haverfordwest through that period is because of those probably little things that just kind of kept working hard. And somebody like, for instance, now Ricky Watts, I'd like to think that scenario's paid off Rick, because no disrespect to Ricky, he wasn't the greatest of footballers years ago, but he's got better with age, more experience, because I think he's done all the right things, and he's sacrificed and he's committed more than anybody else, hence why he was there years ago, and he's still doing it at the highest levels now. So yeah, just little things I think build the bigger picture and makes life easier for you.
Yeah, definitely. And you say there you had a longevity. I think it's over 150 appearances for the club in total.
Yeah.
And it's a lot.
Barry Webb would be the man to ask.
I was thinking that in the back of my mind now. Online it says over 150 in one of the articles I read about you. That's why I'm saying that.
Yeah.
He's an encyclopedia of knowledge with appearances. The Cymru football app wasn't a thing back. I'm not aging you here now, but it wasn't really a thing.
It certainly wasn't. There's no data back then.
Or goals or assists. We'll come on to that.
No.
What stands out then, on and off the field, I suppose, because the club has been, has seen great highs and great lows as well, probably on that time. What are the key moments that you remember?
Yeah, and there's been great people there throughout as well, and the lows, you were talking really low, and it's one of them ones. Whereas the memories of everything during that period is probably at the time was tough. Going from pro football to kind of then that, it was kind of like the club was struggling to put fuel in the minibus for away games. Like you sometimes had to get your own kit out the bag and everything, and those kind of things I didn't really know at the time, kind of went on at like the low levels. But then the more like I've like got older and kind of looked back, those memories, I do genuinely believe when because the club was going to fold within 24 hours. If Rob Simmons and David Hughes hadn't stepped in with the consortium and kind of like a board of directors and stuff at that time when they did, the club was folded within 24 hours and it was gone. It was going to be non-existent. And there was times where we were getting paid and stuff like that. So memory-wise, off the pitch, I'm just glad that, along with others in my kind of time there, I've like played a little bit of a part in getting to the club where it is now, because without that, doesn't become of how big of a football club it is, even though it was always big. It's now going through the gears, thanks to everybody at the club on and off the pitch. So my memories were at the time not great ones, as in like what I was used to, but to stick it out, and then because I had opportunities to go to other clubs and stuff like that, so to stick that out and then kind of roll with it and just kind of buy into it and everything like that. So the memories of that, looking back now, is like just delighted that Mickey Ellis is one of the examples. He's seen absolutely everything 10 times more than me. So you've got to go through those kind of periods to get a successful kind of end, and it is in a successful period now. So yeah, those type of memories and everything like that, like grinding her out and having nowhere to train. We used to train in the multi-story car park, and that is genuine. Yeah, all those kind of stuff. Then those now are good memories because of how everything has turned out.
Yeah, you know, the thing that's coming to me, I've got a vision of you when Lee Jenkins scored that goal in the Cardiff City Stadium. That was, you had a hospitality suite. You'd brought a great bunch of people. Sean Cresser was there. Adam Raymond was there. I think Hudgie came up on the night as well for that first one. And I remember the goal went in, and obviously I'm trying to record this. It's delirium in the touchline, the dugout area. Yeah. And I looked up to you and I could just see what it meant to you. And you're going through some of those stories there. And I'm just sort of like, you know, you lived through some tough times with the club. Before my time as well, you know, but I've heard of these stories along the way. So, you know, it's great that you are seeing it now, acknowledge it, you know, we're currently fourth in the league, the top tier of Welsh football. To consider that Haverfordwest County could have been obsolete by now, you know, after those times. So it's a credit to everyone on and off the pitch from back then as well, I suppose. But let's go on to the pitch then. I can remember many a free kick, the odd penalty with that wand of a right foot of yours. See, I'm giving you even more compliments here. Yeah. Any goals or you know?
I wouldn't say there was many, because I got chucked out on the right wing and I wasn't allowed to come in central for many years. Goal wise, the one that probably stands out was always going up north and stuff like that with the teams, your Bangers, your Rills years ago, were top quality sides. Bala, then recently just after the likes of Bangor and stuff like that. Obviously TNS, that goes without saying. So probably the one against Bala is the one. It was it was to win it 1-0 as well, and it was just inside their half. The pitch was big, mine, so halfway line. So the keeper's kind of like mispunted it. I think it took me about 2 or 3 touches to get up. It's kind of scrambled back, but I've lobbed him from just inside. So the Bala goal probably.
Yeah, well, like I said, I remember many free kick. You've been quite modest and humble about it there. I remember many, and you know, important penalties and a lot of assists. Like I said, you did play a lot of your football out wide, and then you sort of came more central near the end of your playing days. But you know, you played for years as a player at the very top in Wales, but decided on a return to your hometown club of Goodwick United. Went on to win that obviously historic treble. 15-16 during that season. I remember watching for the success you had there. But at the end of that season, lured back, I will say, to the Ogi Bridge Meadow. Just as I said, 12 months later, co-manager alongside our good friend Sean Cresser. We will chat Goodwick shortly, but I'm going to go into that period as co-manager. Many of that dressing room remained from you as a teammate, but you managed to top it up with a lot of local talent at that point, instrumental in bringing players from Goodwick United and from any of the clubs. Hakin as well, a couple of boys came in you'd been huge rivals for 12 months and you managed to convince, thinking back, Ashley Bevan, Broomy and boys like that from Hakin, Rhys Darling, Kieran O'Brien, Gwilty, the list is going on. Apologies to anyone I've missed there, but Division 1 at Pembrokeshire is and was very strong. How did you find that season going from former teammate, previously, Goodwick United teammate, huge rivals against those Hakin boys in particular, going into the dugout? How did you find that one then?
It was difficult, and I didn't realise how difficult it would be until I was kind of in it, because going back to one of my my first ever managers at Haverfordwest, Darren Brace. Now, how he kind of went about being a manager and a player at that time was looking back now was unbelievable, because it's such a difficult job. Whereas you're trying to do so many roles and so many responsibilities, but then still, because obviously I signed back, it was only 12 months out from actually leaving Haverfordwest as a full-time player.
Yeah.
And then, so I was still kind of, my level hadn't really dropped that much, but then trying to do it all and trying to incorporate it was really difficult. But then also I had a lot of friends as players, and then the ones that I'm bringing in from Hakin United and Goodwick United as well, they kind of come in there with my connections. Then I've got a responsibility to try and get the best out of them as well. And it was difficult. And looking back now, it was definitely the right thing and decision to have Cress on board 100%, because I think I would have just sunk, because there was so much going on managing the budget, which was part and parcel of an every week situation. The boys kind of that have first and foremost ever played at that level come from local league. Then I had all my close friends from 12 months earlier, trying to separate myself as a manager to then sometimes as a player, but then as a mate as well. So no, there was a lot of scenarios that it was trying to juggle that. But looking back now, I do genuinely believe it was the right thing for Haverfordwest County at that moment in time to bring in those local players, because Pembrokeshire, especially Goodwick and Hakin over the years, there has been some really good talent in the area, and it's just about breaking that mindset and that mold of standards, expectations, how they apply themselves. So we brought in very good players in, like the Ashley Bevans, your Rhys Darlings, and people like that. They were exceptional talents, and they did really well. They did really well, and I just think then that maybe because the Haverfordwest County connection with Pembrokeshire connection has kind of been a bit of divide over ever since I was a youngster. So to then bring in those local players and then be successful and do really well, I think that kind of then started the kind of ball rolling and bringing in, and then you've got the likes of Ben Fawcett and kind of Jack Wilson and everything like that. That kind of then kicked on again. Talented boys, because it was a little bit different from your kind of Ricky Watts', your Greg Walters, your Dex Carroll, because they come through then the junior ranks and the academies at Haverfordwest. So it was one of them ones where, looking back now, and then obviously Sean Cress carried on the kind of role then the following season. I just feel like that then took the club even bigger and stronger, as in local talent as well.
Yeah, definitely. You look at eras, that was certainly an era that was needed to build that bridge. Definitely. You look back and, as you said, Forsey and Willie and boys like that have gone on to have many years at the top now. And I think without those years of sort of building those connections, I'm thinking to other clubs as well. Merlin's Bridge, I think Joe Lee came across from Merlin's Bridge at that point. And again, there'll be others from other clubs, who sort of had that pathway, and I think that still continues to this day. Obviously Pembrokeshire Division 1 clubs won't like them being seen as a shop window, but that's the pathway that Haverfordwest is certainly trying to develop to create that pathway to the top tier of Welsh football, I suppose.
I think it needs to happen. I think it should continue in a strong way as well, because even at the likes of Goodwick now, we had the likes of Harry John, John Chester's, Dan John, Seth Woodhouse, and all coming through the juniors, and then kind of went into Haverfordwest. And I personally, when I went to Goodwick, it was the transition then 3 years ago when Harry and all kind of went to Haverfordwest, but I had a discussion with them about staying at Goodwick, and they wanted to give Haverfordwest a go. And I said, look, you go with our blessings, guys, because the door will always be open for you to return. But in my eyes, you should always try and play as high as you can for as long as you can. Because you can always go home. You can always go home.
100%.
It'll always be there.
I'm just thinking that now, you know, there's boys who've had experience at the top level. Leon Luby comes to mind. There will be many others as well, you know, who've played for Haverfordwest, had opportunities and done really, really well, but have then gone back with those experiences to their clubs, like your Rhys Darlings and your Cobsies and Gwilties, etc. You know, who've had a crack at it, enjoyed it, and you know, and are back doing it. Let's go to Phoenix Park then. These days, as I said, you are the boss down there. You've always been the boss at Phoenix Park.
I don't know. Sometimes I don't feel like I am, but yeah, I kind of get the decisions and what I want in the end.
No, the team is flying. There's no hiding from that under your guidance. I think success rate is about 97.5% or something over the last few years, I think. Yeah, wow. As I said, I've mentioned a few names of a really, really great squad that you've got there. There's a certain Sean Pemberton we've not even mentioned yet. He's down there with you. I know many of the boys. That great surface that you've got down there, you know, it's easily a Welsh League clubhouse pitch. The whole, you know, setup, the committee, what the committee and the sponsors and everybody have done is testament to the hard work. And do you think, you've mentioned there some of the challenges you overcame as your time in charge at Haverfordwest with Cress. Have you taken those experiences in? Are you trying to instill that professionalism, I suppose, the word, at Goodwick?
Yeah, I think, because I obviously went there originally in 15-16, was the first ever time since I was a kid. I was properly back at Goodwick United. We sat down in that 15-16, and I literally just said, if they want me on board, it has to be exactly run as a semi-professional football club, because regardless of, like, they were all local boys back then as well. So it's a case of there's no money involved, but they're all on the doorstep. So turn up on time, like I say, wear the right tracksuit, spend an hour in the clubhouse afterwards, turn up for training, work hard, just get your fitness done in the week. And I generally believe at that time, nowhere was doing it in like Pembrokeshire, Swansea, Carmarthen, nothing like that. And I think we caught everybody on the hop that season. We had a very good team, as in talented wise, but I think we just did everything that little bit better. And we had a lot of luck. But from then, that point onwards with Goodwick, when I came back to Haverfordwest and then went back again, my brother kind of had a stint there as well, and he installed that as well. It was exactly the same standards. It was all kept on and off the field. The club bought into it. The committee backed it. They kept the standards for the facilities, the pitches. We kept the standards on the pitch. And yeah, over the last 10 years, the club has been very successful, as in winning things and trophies wise. And I'd go as far as saying more than the ability and talent wise, it is the standards and how you apply yourself. Because at that level, you'll have a fair level of talent that is similar. So if you're doing that little bit more than the others, more often than not, it'll run true. Yeah,
definitely. Well, going well, as I said, in the league, the Senior Cup, the West Wales Cup so far this year. Long may that continue. But have you, saying standards and professional, have you given the boys some time off now over the festive period?
Well, literally, as we've been talking here, I have had a WhatsApp message actually of a breakdown for the boys from one of the coaches in what we'll give them tonight now to do by the time we return on the 4th. So no, they won't be having any. Well, they can have a little bit of time off, but yeah. And then the ones that can't get it done will then obviously miss the game back on the 4th.
Mate, it's the most unsurprising thing you've said all evening. That
they've got choices.
Love it. Well, like as I said, knowing you, high aims and ambitions for the rest of the season. I think success seems to follow you around. So obviously, we wish you all the best at the club for the second half of the season. And as you know, Sian, my better half, is a Goodwick girl. So I've always the Evans household is always very much behind Ragura.
Through and through.
Right, a moment I've been waiting for months, if not years, since we've started the Bluebirds Nest. I've pestered you to come on here. The Chris O'Sullivan Haverfordwest Dream Team. 11 of the best players you've ever graced the field with. I want a formation. I want players. Obviously, starting at the back. Let's build it up. Let's put people out of their misery.
Well, and it's been a big problem because it's over like a 15-year period, whereas I've arrived at the club as a youngster. Then obviously I'm learning off senior boys down there, and then obviously the middle part, I'm just probably more focused on myself, and then the latter end, then I'm trying to bring people kind of through as well. Yeah, and over the years, there has been some very, very good players at Haverfordwest County. So yeah, it hasn't been difficult.
You've had sleepless nights, I know.
Oh Jesus! It's and I guarantee I would have forgotten or missed somebody, but yeah, it's one of them ones. Whereas it's been difficult, but there's a lot of quality in it. A lot of quality. So keeper wise, obviously over the years I've played with the likes of Leedsy, Hovis, Craig, superb. And a great character on and off the pitch as well. And obviously he's done very well at other clubs apart from Haverfordwest County. But I'd go as far as he's arguably one of the best keepers that's ever graced the Welsh Premier. And yeah, Lee Kendall. So when I first came here, the character and leadership that he possessed as a keeper, and he should have played higher for longer. Definitely. We were very lucky to have him for, I think it was 4 or 5 years. And Ken's was a leader in the dressing room and on the pitch. He was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. So, yeah, Ken's, my mucker is in goal.
Okay. Formation time now. And how many are you going at the back?
I'm going to go 4 at the back because there's been so many defenders. Yeah, and so Welsh Premier, there's been really good defenders. You got Perry Evans, Darren Brace, Wyn Thomas. You got Barnhouse, Dodsey, Lee Jarman, Jack Elliott, and then you got the Welsh League. You got Sam Roden, Sean Pemden, Ricky Watts, Wolvesy as well. Not missing him out. Yeah, and you got Richard Liu, Antonio, Gonzo. It's been relentless as in who I've kind of played with and the
back 12 and of you.
Yeah. 18. But no, my back 4 and it was very difficult. So right back is my old pal and my back. He's not old, he's a lot younger than me, but Watsy, Ricky Watts gets in at right back. Difficult because obviously Terry Evans, superb Welsh Premier, stuff like that. So, but no, Ricky from starting with a youngster, and he helped me out a lot because every time I used to hit the diag, he used to pull me out of the kind of
on the other end,
because his pace got the ball. But yeah, Watty, he's grown into an absolute legend on the club, one of the biggest, and what he's still achieving on the pitch for me is outstanding. So yeah, Watty gets in at right back. Left full back. This was difficult as well because I've got Wolvesy, you've got Antonio Fututo, who's outstanding, fit up and down.
Who did you mean there? Who's the fit one going up and down?
Yeah. Wolvesy was hoping. Wolvesy back in the day was fit, and he was up and down. But yeah, Antonio, and then you've got Richie Liu that dropped in there as well. And he could play as a wing back as well. But for somebody that first brought me to the football club, and he was such a leader, and I mentioned and touched upon it earlier, to be a player manager at that level, your standards has to be on it, because when you're kind of ready to question the other players and you're not kind of doing it yourself, it's very difficult. But Darren Brace gets in at left back for me, and he was somebody that kind of installed everything that we were about over those few years And Bracey was outstanding as a both manager and kind of player, and he led by example. 100%. So Darren Brace slots in there. 2 centre halves. There's been loads. There's been loads. But I mentioned a lot of the players as in defensive areas, not so going back on years. So it's two leaders, 2 players that I got massive respect for. One of them is arguably up there with the best in the Welsh Prem, in Mr. Wyn Thomas. The appearances, the clubs that he's turned out for, the standards that he set for such a long period of time. When we were at Haverfordwest, he wouldn't let anybody step out of line, as in, you do the right things, you work as hard as you can on the pitch. He led by example. He was somebody that you wanted to play for. Wyn was outstanding. And I played with him not so long back as well on the men, and he still had a little bit about himself.
We'll talk about it shortly now.
Wyn slots in on the left. And then on the right-hand side, I was at the club when he first joined, from lower leagues, and he was somebody that came in straight away and no nonsense. He bought into everything. He didn't shirk anything. In fact, he started a little bit higher up the pitch alongside me in centre mid and kind of looked after me, because I wouldn't really get in the mix, and then he'd just get me the ball to give it to me, and then I'd be like, appreciate it. But then he dropped back into centre half then. But similar to Wyn, obviously I'm assuming everybody's going to know that Sean Pemberton's sliding into that right-hand side of the centre half. But he led by example. He was a leader. He's somebody you wanted to play with. Like I said, didn't shoot there. I remember him going up against the likes of Michael Wilde and everything like that, and getting elbowed, and you're thinking, oh, he's not going to come back for more and stuff like that. And Pems would be there all day long. And even going into your Welsh League games, your Tom Pentras and your Porths and things like that, the nitty-gritty. But for somebody to come from the lower leagues to go into the Welsh League and then still hold his own in the Welsh Premier, and he's respected by a lot of people throughout the whole of the Welsh game. So and obviously he's still playing for me now, so I've got to keep him happy. So Sean Pemberton, centre half with.
That's not a bad back 5 there. That's impressive. That. All right, let's move into midfield territory.
Again, this is one I've had to revert to a diamond.
Ooh, right.
Yeah, Wolsey and Cressa kind of like taught me the kind of diamond role. In 2013, I think they bought it in 2014. So I'm going to revert to the diamond to accommodate the players. Another one when I first and I could go through so many players in this midfield. You've got the likes of Palms, you've got Simon Heel, you've got A.D. Harris, you've got Lossie, you've got Tom Ramerset, you've got Neil Thomas. All these players are kind of like bouncing around there. Matty Collins, Darren Ryan. So it's you could just put them in a hat and just pick them out, and they're all as good as each other. But a bit of balance and just people that kind of like. So as the bottom of the diamond, I'm going to go Colin Lossie. When I was at the club, Darren brought him in, and another one experienced. He sat there and he dictated the game, and he was outstanding. And I was only young at the time, and I was kind of like a bit raw and everything, and I just wanted the ball all the time out on the right and everything. But Lossie was one of them ones where he could control a game with or without the ball. He was a dictator, and he was class on the ball. Lossie drops into that sitting on the diamond, and then the two on the right and left. And again, I've changed this probably 4 or 5 times. But I'm going to go on the left-hand side of the diamond. It's going to have to be Rammers. So Tom Ramerset. Quality. Once you had hold of the ball, you're not getting it off him. You're only getting it back if he's giving it back to you. Hell of a left foot, balance, and he wasn't the quickest, as in like sprinting wise, but his body shape and everything like that, and just like his movement, he was outstanding. And it was either going to be him or John Coates. And Coates, he was at the Swans with me. But I think Rammers just did it for a little bit longer, Haverfordwest. Coates, was a shorter spell. But yeah, and then you've got like the likes of A.D. Harris and boys like that. So it's been difficult. But yeah, Rammers gets on the left-hand side of the diamond. Right-hand side of the diamond, it's going to be, and he was as fit as anything years ago. And people underestimate how many assists and goals he got. And he's still involved with the football club these days. So Neil Thomas. Tomo is on the right-hand side of the diamond. Engine on him, up and down. He did well at other clubs as well. But when Tomo came in, he was our captain at the time when Derek Brazil brought him in. And yeah, Tomo was outstanding. And he could get goals as well. And he was up and down and he was a workhorse. So yeah, Neil Thomas on the right-hand side of the diamond. So yeah, I've had to shuffle the formation. So this player's yeah, he's been my mucker for many a year. He has played his majority of the time out on the left, but he did play up top for a while as well. And he's more than capable of playing in the 10 role. And for me, the best left sider that the Haverfordwest County have ever seen. I think it was 2010, 2011 with him, and he was unbelievable. He was one of the best players in the league, and he got sent away to trial up in Cardiff and stuff. But as a 10 and as a player that I played with so many years, and he was absolutely rapid back then. But he slowed up a hell of a lot now. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Lee Hudgell is on the tip of that, and as the 10 role.
Had you, I think, got Team of the Year, Welsh Premier, or it would have been League of Wales at the time, Team of the Year that year before he had his knee injury, I think it was, at the tail end of the season.
And I think he scored multiple goals that year. But yeah, he was on absolute fire. But he did it for many. And he had a nasty injury in the end, which kind of derailed him for a period of time. So, but no, he was outstanding. So the front two, it's difficult because again you've got Danny Thomas, you've got Rhys Griffiths, Jack Christopher, Jordan Follows, Luke Borelli. All these, Richie Adams, Tim Hicks, and all outstanding, had brilliant careers throughout the whole footballing. But I'm going to go with I can't leave out Rhys Griffiths, even though I think he'd be the first one to say it didn't really kick off with him down in Haverfordwest, and his career literally went from strength to strength the minute he left us, to be fair. And he's arguably, if not the best striker that's ever played Welsh Premier. We're up there with Juice in Mark Lloyd Williams. So Rhys Griffiths is one of the two, because knowing Rhys well, played with him, know him outside of football as well. He's a winner. He's driven. And he went on, I had multiple golden boots. So I think if I'm going to pick the best, I'm going to have to chuck him in the mix as well.
Yeah.
And then the other striker to go alongside him. And I genuinely believe it goes unnoticed a little bit of how good he actually was, because his ratio for Haverfordwest County, I think it's one goal in every 2 games. And he's deceivingly quick, where people don't look at him as being quick, and he's very clever in the air. He times it really well, gives you a little bit of a nudge. And he was an absolute handful, and loved playing with him, because obviously I was always out on the right, so I just delivered. He made the deliveries look good. Mr. Jack Christopher is up alongside Rhys Griffiths as my front two. They would be a handful together.
Jack, do you know, right, before my time at the club, I used to watch the football, and see he was getting so many ridiculous amount of goals, and he was the superstar almost at the time for the club, and went to Carmarthen, came back and things. But only when I came to the club and he had another spell back under Wolvesy did I get to know him as a person as well. You know, when I got to know him, a great bloke off the field as well, Jack. And I just wonder, you know, in this era, imagine how much a Jack Christopher nowadays would be worth. You know, great in the air, great feet, finisher, gutsy player as well, but was as quick as he was as well, you know. And it was great to see him down the other day at the Legends game, which we'll talk about in a second. But so that team is unreal. I got to ask though, you've played under many great leaders at the club. Who's the man that's going to be in the dugout trying to manage that lot?
Oh, Jesus. Well, I'm glad I didn't put myself in there because it might have changed the manager.
Crossed my mind.
I've played. I think it's 6 or 7 different managers at my time at Haverfordwest. But for me, there's going to be a duo, and I just feel like they were brilliant for me in my time there. But also having then stepped into that role soon after the kind of 2 that were there, I realized how difficult it was, and then my appreciation kind of like roll back and thinking, Jesus, wow, this is difficult. So yeah, the 2 duos, I don't know if they'd get along properly though, if they were both 50-50, Sean Cresson and Wayne Jones. So Wolvesy, I think superb, and I didn't realize how tough of a job it was until I stepped in then not long after. And then obviously Cress, I can't thank Cress enough because he's got me to where I kind of am as a manager and coach now, behind the scenes and in front on the football side as well, because the guidance I had off him as being just a raw coach manager coming into the game, I needed that. I needed that guidance. So yeah, those 2 can crack on with that team, and I'll sit in the stands with a coffee.
Enjoy. That's an incredible group. If I'm honest, it's not far off what I thought you might have gone with, but a couple of notable mentions who've narrowly missed out there. And I'm sure you're going to be peppered with responses from people saying, where was my shout? Where's my shout? And that's, like I said, you know, you played with so many different great squads. It must have been difficult, but I appreciate you've committed to those players and that management team. But you're doing that weekly on a Saturday. But I know when you can, you've come to watch a game or 2 with us, including, as I said, those 2 infamous nights in Cardiff for our European fixtures. I believe you'll be in the hospitality for our first game back at the Ogi Bridge Meadow now on New Year's Day. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, that's correct. It's been difficult, right? Because obviously you've been with Goodwick as first team manager there now for the last 3 years. So obviously Saturday games and then are taken up, and then obviously you guys away games and the Carmarthen kind of situation. It's been difficult, and I haven't got to watch enough games as I possibly would want to because I still got really good connections with the club. But yeah, I've been swayed into getting the hospitality for New Year's Day, which is nice because obviously I've got connections with Aberystwyth Town as well, because the management group that have gone on board there recently, good friends of mine, Barry Morgan and stuff. So it'll be an absolute cracking day, and it'll be another step in the right direction for Haverfordwest to grow as a football club. Yeah,
definitely. We'll come on to that. Before we do though, let's go back. You had your own little run out after all these years at the Bluebirds. You captained the Bluebirds legend team, led the team out with your 2 daughters against the Valero staff squad at the tail end of last season in what was one of the very last fixtures to be ever played on the grass at Ogi Bridge Meadow. One last final outing, perhaps in the 7 shirt for you with the armband. One of very few to last the full 90 minutes, I believe, as well. But how was it, you know, many of those names you've gone through, how was it to go back onto the pitch with many of the names you listed?
Yeah, it was a great moment because, like I said, we have got great memories over the years from being in the dressing rooms together and on the pitches. And then to be back in the dressing room as well. And obviously Wolvesy taking it. And then you had like your legends over the years, like your Wyn Thomases and stuff like that. Yeah, it was great, and to be on the pitch again, it is a lot bigger than what it was years ago. I'm sure of it. And then it was discussed beforehand that everybody's going to get minutes, everybody's going to be rotated, and we're just going to pop on and off. Yeah, and then I ended up playing the 90, and I'm genuine. I didn't go to work the next day because I couldn't drive the van, and yeah, I was in bits for 2 or 3 days, and obviously you got your first team boys, your Zach and your Luke and all, and then yeah, they'd seen me and they were like, oh, you need to leave it alone. Leave it alone. Just
do you know what it was?
Wolvesy
didn't want to hook you off. See, you know what happens when he hooks you off after 60.
That was the last ever time that was. The shirt come off as well. Yeah, we were friends the next day.
Yeah, love it. Well, that was a special night to mark the end of the grass era. With regards to our season so far, then we've got Newtown away in a few days on Boxing Day. Bluebirds Nest live coming live from up in Latham Park in Newtown for those not making the journey. But as I said, fast approaching the return to the Ogi Bridge Meadow. You'll be there. Sal, you know the club inside out, and I know you keep, well abreast of everything that's going on, etc. And we speak often about it. What have you made of this season's performances? And like I said, we're fourth in the league, etc. What are your thoughts on it all?
Looking at the job Tony has done there, it's been outstanding, because obviously you've gone from Europe, and then he's not having the kind of pre-season, then everybody's kind of burnt out, and then you're trying to regain that, and then to get back to where you wanted to kind of be in the top 6 and stuff like that, and then keep on improving and get the boys motivated and keep things fresh, has been nothing short of a miracle, because knowing firsthand what goes on behind the scenes, on and off the pitch, with what's been going down the meadow, obviously the new 4G come in, travelling back and forth to Carmarthen. It's been an outstanding season so far, outstanding. And I think, looking from the outside, if the club would have been offered it, if Tony would have been offered that at the start of the season, it would have bit the hand off. And it's one of them ones, whereas at times and in the games that I'm seeing, if chances are getting taken, Haverfordwest are in a better place again. So the performances, the kind of like the solidness and the steeliness of the team is outstanding. A little bit more clinical, because at the end of the day, at the level those boys are at now, and for me, Welsh Premier is getting better and better. You have to be clinical, you have to be ruthless, and people have to put games to bed. And I think just a couple of tweaks with that, and I can only see Haverfordwest getting even better in the second phase. So yeah, no, on and off the pitch, obviously with everything's going on down there now, it's in a fabulous place, it's in a great place. It's great to see, and I think it's massively growing in the area as well. So everything is looking positive, and it's great.
Yeah, I agree. The boys have done well, and you said the word fresh there. They're looking fitter than ever, and I think you can take some credit for that in some small way, because obviously a lot of them are up with you at your incredible facility, I must say, in S7 Fitness up in Withybush. That's playing a big part in a lot of the locals, keeping fit and ticking over nicely. I'm sure you're putting them through their paces when they're up with you. It's probably your busiest time of the year coming up in January. Are you expecting an influx of new members?
Yeah, hopefully. It's busy. It's doing really well, to be fair. And in regards to like the first team boys and the squad boys, they come through here. They train you. They work hard. Great characters. Great people. And they know if they don't put a graft in there, I'll just pick up the phone to Pens and let them know they won't be in the starting 11. No, but they're good. They're good people, good boys, and yeah, the dealings with the club and everything like that is in the link up, and it's super brilliant. So yeah, no, and hopefully it's something that offers Pembrokeshire a good facility to increase their kind of ability and their levels of in the sporting world, and not only that, all the wellness and health and everything. So yeah, no, it's doing really well, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I remember fondly, we were coming back from Cambrian years and years ago in a minibus. I think Mickey Ellis was driving it, and you were explaining to me the plans, and I was thinking, this is incredible. And you literally had a plot of land at the time. So to see where you are, I know the facility's 24/7. I know you're sat there in your office at S7 now. I'm recording this late at night, so it sums up your work mentality and everything. So yeah, best of luck with everything that January brings for another chapter in the S7 story, I guess. And keep it up, mate. Excellent.
Yeah, superb.
Listen, I've loved this, but before we wrap up, I have got one last thing to share with you. This year marks the 125th anniversary of Haverfordwest County, and as part of our celebrations, we're honouring some key individuals who've made a lasting impact on the club, and I'm sure, as everybody's heard, you've been a major part of that. And I'm really privileged to have the honour to announce that on New Year's Day, I'm glad I double-checked that you are coming to the fixture. At our first game back at the Ogi Bridge Meadow, the club will be honouring you by inducting you onto our club's Wall of Fame. Congratulations. I think it's a fitting recognition on everything you've done for the club over the years, so.
Yeah, no, that, again, it's one of those moments where, you spend a lot of time in a period with either a club or individuals or a family, and yeah, like you say, it gives me goosebumps to even think that I've been a small tiny part of helping the football club that's on my doorstep to get where it is today. And there's been many people, volunteers that haven't even had a penny to get the club where they are, and if I've been able to help it in any kind of way, then it's been a pleasure for me as well, because without Haverfordwest Football Club, I probably wouldn't be in the position where I am today, and hopefully it'll put me and continue to keep me in good stead and everything. But to be named or be on a wall alongside the people that are there already and the ones that will probably come on board as well is be amongst them is an absolute pleasure. So I'm glad I could contribute to the club in some sort of way over the years. So much appreciated, and thank you very much, Haverfordwest County.
Well deserved. There's been some fantastic memories that I've witnessed you and impact the club the way that you've gone about your business. Like I said, on and off the field, big impact. And like you said, long may it continue with the partnership with S7 Fitness and the club itself. But mate, I've loved this chat. I knew it would be a great story that you tell. One hell of a journey you've been on. Many more years of success to come, as I'm sure. We haven't even spoken about S7 events and things like that. So you've got so much on your plate, your management, and no doubt, I'm sure you'll end up as a coach for your two girls in some sporting success in the future as well. I'm sure you'll instill your standards across the two girls as they grow up. But mate, Sal, thank you so much for your time, for finally agreeing to come and have a chat. Best of luck for the rest of the season with Goodwick United. We'll all be keeping an eye on it. Have a great Christmas, pal, with the family, and roll on January the 1st. Hopefully we can be toasting a glass to your Hall of Fame, and fingers crossed 3 points against Haverfordwest.
Superb, right. Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone at the football club as well. Pleasure. Thank you.